Here in Johannesburg, whereby political parties and civil organizations have agreed to sign a morality memorandum. Let's cross over to Leanne once again. Leanne, a very good morning to you once again. What a beautiful elections play we saw earlier on there at Constitutional Hill.
Yes, indeed, Palesa, and a very good morning to you too, and to everybody that's just tuned in. Well, as Palesa said, we're broadcasting from Constitution Hill this morning, and it's quite a significant occasion that we do this on, where you're getting a whole bunch of civil organizations, political parties, where they're going to be gathering here this morning to sign a moral regeneration memorandum. When we think of what's been happening over the past few months, and from this year, it started off on a very, very, I suppose, unsteady footing, one could say. And I think now is the time for this memorandum to be signed. And we'll be talking a little bit about that. But I suppose the person who really knows all about it and can tell us more about what the memorandum actually says is the chairperson of the particular movement. And I'm joined by Father Simangaliso Mkhatshwa, who is here and I suppose is going to be proceeding over these events. It's good to have you, Father. Thank you very much for being with us.
It's a pleasure, and good morning to the viewers and listeners.
Tell us a little bit more about this memorandum. What is it? What is actually saying? What does it say? What are the political parties and civil organizations going to be signing today?
Well, first of all, the background couldn't be more appropriate. With the women's jail, and those are women that were incarcerated for fighting for freedom, for democracy, and to have their vote. And secondly, we also have the Constitutional Hill, which actually is more or less houses the custodian of the Constitution of South Africa. The moral regeneration movement was fascinated by what took place in 1994. Thousands of people queuing up for elections, and basically they were there to ensure that they exercise their right to vote, to choose who is going to run the country, who their representatives are going to be. Now, over the past 22 years or so, we have observed that there have been very interesting developments. First of all, many more young people are joining the queue to become voters. In other words, to decide who is going to lead them, especially at the local government level, because we're talking about local government elections. And we've also realized that there's also unfortunately a lot of violence that has accompanied the campaigning, hurling insults at one another and so on, and sometimes regrettably leading to the death of people, potential candidates and so on. And then we decided that what we needed was not so much to train people legally or technically what they needed to do to be voters in South Africa, but they needed to be guided by certain ethics and moral values, which, for instance, would say, I will vote for so-and-so because is a leader I can trust, is a man or woman of his or her own word, her word. She is committed to the welfare of the people, not of themselves, and so on. She's not corrupt, is someone who has integrity, is someone who's also tried to ensure that we bring the South African people together, because we do belong together. So that's why, therefore, we decided that we would invite all the political parties represented in Parliament and major civic organizations, including the, for instance, foundations like Kathrada Foundation, Nelson Mandela Foundation, or Tambo Foundation, you name them, they will be here. For the parties then to commit themselves to those values that in fact are listed in the Charter of Election Ethics. In other words, they are binding themselves and their parties to abide by those values when they do their campaigning, when they actually finally reach the polling booth, so that everything is done fairly, transparently, in an accountable manner. We're also saying to the IEC, thank you very much for the sterling work that we have done. However, you must also make sure that you are guided by certain values of impartiality, of efficiency, and so on.
Most importantly, and I think that's what South Africans need and want to hear, because we saw during that theatrical performance a bit earlier, just saying that you have this vote, you have the right to vote, it is your voice, this is how you speak, and we need the IEC to carry that vote forward and ensure that nothing is meddled with, or that everything is done in a free and honest way. Just finally, and I ask you to answer this quite quickly, just because we're pressed for time. where did we lose the way? What has happened to us? It's just, we were this country that was a shining light for so many people to look at. We still are, but we seem to have just fallen off the path a little bit at the moment, and people are just not feeling as high in spirits as they normally would. Where, in your opinion, do you think we need to rectify this? What are we doing wrong?
I think where we're falling short, there's a kind of moral decay that has beset us, unfortunately, where people don't value life so much as they should, where people trample upon the rights of others, where there is still huge disparities of between the rich and the poor. There's unemployment, there's poverty, there are all these social ills and so on. And people, therefore, tend to take shortcuts. Those, for example, who do not have jobs, who are poor, then they somehow feel tempted to try and make life in a very unethical way. But also, in the final analysis, is that human life has become cheap. And as Moral Regeneration movement, we are therefore saying, first of all, family integrity, because lots of our families in fact have disintegrated and so on, and that's where the actual training, that where the teaching of children, young people, should actually take place. And therefore the schools, the universities, the churches, and all the other social organizations are there to uphold that, to instill those values that are supposed to be common to all of us. They are shared among all of us, whether you are Christian or Muslim or Marxist or whoever you may be. And we're therefore saying that if only we could put a lot of emphasis on those values, but also to say that there should be accountability, there should be consequences for not abiding by those values. And that after that, we can then seriously talk about social cohesion, that we are one people. We have a wonderful constitution, which sometimes, of course, is flouted from time to time. But at the end of the day, we are one people, we are one nation. And we've had great leaders who have been shining examples, and it's our responsibility now and going forward to ensure that South Africa continues to be a great country.
Father, I love the words that you've just used for us. Thank you very, very much, and good luck for today. And I hope that every single political party is here represented, signing that memorandum, as well as the civil organizations. Father Simangaliso Mkhatshwa, he is from the movement. In fact, he's the chairperson of this movement that has put together this moral regeneration memorandum. We're going to